afternoon, everyone, and welcome to, I guess I could stop saying one of RVN's new television shows, but we're still newish. Anyway, the show is What the Why with Barbara Ann. And our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured it out. There's something that our leaders have in common with you. At some point, they felt stuck, wanted to get unstuck, or maybe they were sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. Is this something you can relate to? Well, they definitely can. It's the main thing that they all have in common. And today's guest is no exception to that list of leaders that we've been so happy to feature on our show. Today's guest is Barbara Kelley. Barbara Kelley has so many different initials behind her name, but let's just run through a few of them. MBA, PSM1, BCO, FPA. Most importantly, she's the new township manager for West Pikeland Township in Pennsylvania. And after her intro, we're going to get to what some of all of those initials actually mean. Most importantly, I have the pleasure of calling Barbara my friend. When we were both working overlapping roles in Camden, we were the Barbaras.
Yes, we were.
But let's dive into her skills and experiences, because she's a highly skilled community economic development expert, educator, and collaborator with we'll just say over 2 decades of experience. She's skilled in mediation and conflict resolution training, economic development, project management, consulting in nonprofits with local governments, business development, communication, and revitalizing and expediting processes. She's an expert in teaching diversity, group dynamics, and building relationships with businesses, nonprofits, all levels of government, and community stakeholders. She's traveled the world as a speaker to places such as Australia, Malaysia, Russia, Singapore, and Sweden on behalf of numerous business professional associations. She's successfully completed projects within tight lines and budgets in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, what we call our tri-state region, but also as high as international levels. She has started and helped launch new organizations and revitalized existing struggling organizations to become effective and efficient organizations benefiting all stakeholders. Educationally, Barbara earned her Master's of Business Management at Penn State University. She also has a Bachelor in Humanities and Social Sciences from Drexel University. She has more professional licenses and certifications than I have time to actually cover in the 30 minutes that we have, and she serves on multiple boards of directors of nonprofit organizations. She's received awards ranging from Teacher of the Quarter for her role as an adjunct professor, from the Red Cross for years of service, and the Russian Leadership Program Award from Rotary International, somehow associated with the Library of Congress. So I definitely want to ask about that one. Suffice to say, she's done a lot. So without further ado, please welcome my friend and community and economic development expert, Barbara Kelley. Hi.
Hi, thank you very much, man. I never realized how much I did until then.
I know, and we always wonder why we're so tired, right?
Yeah, I'm like, wow, I did all that? That's pretty cool.
You have done all of that and more. That's just a sampling of the things that you've done that we could fit within the time slot that we have allotted. And yes, with all of that in mind, you've done a whole lot. But one of the main questions we ask all our guests is, after we've read their bios, don't necessarily imagine that you intended or saw yourself as doing this when, you were little Barbara Kelley, running around on the playground. So what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh God, I wanted to be a Philly cop. That's all, or Alden, which was a little area in Delaware County. I'll never forget that. That's all I wanted to do, was become a Philly cop. But it was funny because I had the opportunity to become one around age 22, and then it was like, go to the police academy or finish my degree at Drexel. I'm like, oh, I have to do it. I have to finish. It was my last year. I'm like, I have to do it. But it was neat. I still respect police officers. They're an incredible group of people. They really, deserve a lot. So that's what I always wanted to do.
Yeah, and you partner with them in different ways now. So it's not like you're not still involved in supporting the work that they do.
And like when I stopped there and I wanted to be a mediator, I had an 8th grader ninth grade, I think it was a thing where you had to decide what you want to do. And I said mediator. And I did become a mediator, which I was, it was like, oh, wow, I didn't know I wanted to do that back then. So I found in my old, papers. I'm like, oh, I really did accomplish something I finally set out to do. But it was neat. Yeah, I just wanted to like help people, and I thought a police officer and a mediator, that type of thing really did. So I based my life on that, I guess.
Okay, which is actually the perfect transition to my next question, which is, okay, so you started out wanting to be a police officer, and now you've done so many different things. Tell us how you went from wanting to be a police officer to where you are now.
Yeah, it was weird. I think I graduated Drexel, and I learned about mediation, and I saw a little ad in the paper saying, you want to be a mediator, you volunteer, but you got to pay for a class, which was really crazy. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it anyway. And I did. And that really helped me a lot. That mediation training really makes you really think about a lot of things, like the other side, and, feuding people and trying to get them, you facilitate, an agreement between two really angry people. That really helped me, really understand people and what their agendas are, and what their passions are, and that actually got me to be on the board of the organization. Then I became the executive director of the organization. So that was interesting how that really transferred my, from a police officer to helping police officers and the court system and all. And at that point, I became nonprofit director of a lot of different organizations. And then you learn grant writing and use my conflict resolution skills every time, every day, I guess. Awesome. And then I got into the nonprofit. And then I looked at government and I'm thinking, do I really want to do that? And I'm thinking, wow, that I worked with a lot of governments because of my job. And I'm thinking, well, this is interesting. And I realized I didn't even know it was a job, and I got into it, and I kind of like it because it really captures all my skills in mediation, the project management, the grant writing, the constituent services. I mean, every day is a different day, and I like that. I like the variety of the job. So when you come into work, you just don't know what you're going to expect that day. And you have the skills, you learn the skills to actually handle that every day. That's deep. And I love the staff and volunteers, the leadership. They're just wonderful people because they really care,
Wow. So obviously, if I were to ask you what your why is, it sounds like you figured out very early on it was helping people.
Yes.
In different capacities.
Yeah.
Now, now you're fairly new to your role.
Right, March 28th, I started here. Yeah, it's pretty new.
So
yeah, it's interesting. It's really a beautiful area to work in, and it's very nice, and the people are great, and I'm really learning a lot. And I can give my I can do things here that I wanted to accomplish too. You have open space, you have historical, you have, recreation. So you can really do a lot of things here with that.
Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, the variety, like the fact that every day is something different is part of the excitement of having this role.
Yes.
So I know you touched on it a little bit, but to the extent that you can elaborate a little bit more, what does a township manager actually do?
A lot. It's really funny. The staff and the township manager work together, and the leadership work together, and the volunteers work together. The residents work together. The vendors and the third party people, engineers and lawyers and inspectors. It really is a team effort. I can't do my job without everybody, helping and doing their job. Mm-hmm. So it's almost a facilitator. of services to provide for the community, and working with the state and county and federal agencies too. So it's really a variety of things. Filling a pothole to, someone has a problem with a neighbor, to someone we're building a playground or building a public works building, or dealing with trying to think zoning issues. I mean, and planning with the planning departments. It's just a whole range of things. And when I came here, I asked the past township manager, saying, "What's the majority of your jobs?" Because just phone calls, just handling people's calls, and they're not all bad either. I mean, you really do have some interesting, nice calls too. Like, thanks for patching my road, or thanks for having that event because my kids really enjoyed it. I mean, you have both. It's not all negative, so it's nice. It's really a good community that really support each other, and I really like that. I mean, I really do like a community that supports each other, and West Pikeland does do that.
Mm-hmm. And I know not as much as in this role, but in previous roles, even at the local level, you were very involved in pandemic response.
Mm-hmm.
So emergency response and things
helping,
like that.
Helping businesses get some of the funding from the government, or doing the food bank, trying to get volunteers for the food bank because a lot of people needed it. Dealing with trying to think of all the different ones. A lot of different nonprofits getting their money from stimulus. During the pandemic, it was a lot of getting resources for people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is a very specialized space, and I mentioned earlier you have all of these different initials behind your name, and I'm partly curious because one of the questions I ask people is, what is the different credentials or experiences that helped you find your way today? So, what is a PSM1? I may be the only one of the audience that's actually interested in this, but I'm like, PSM1, BCO, FPA, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are project management courses. Okay. A lot of them are project management courses, and FPA is a floodplain administrator. That really is a lot of people who are engineers are that, and when you're in the township, you want to get some familiarity and some testing for different areas, and floodplain was one of them. Mm-hmm. Project management was them. Agira is like a software program. BCO is a building code official. So that's one where you go into homes and see if they're they're up to par to actually live there.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of different certifications for townships, and project management and conflict resolution, mm-hmm. that type of experiences. And it's good to have, because it's good not just to I don't really mind having it. I mean, the initials are initials, what I mean? Sure. But it's the knowledge is more important. And I think that's really, having the knowledge and being able to have the information to help other people and give them the information is really, I think, more reason why I did it, mm-hmm. is to provide resources for other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So get the education to be able to give it to other people, mm-hmm. and, build checklists or manuals or, little summary sheets and, give it to the public.
Yeah. And believe it or not, it's already time for our halfway break. And when we come back, I do want to talk about all of the different things you've done in terms of helping to educate others and work in communities, both in this line of work, but in other roles as well, and the other part of the mission of Barbara Kelley. So please come back after our commercial break for more of our fascinating conversation with Barbara Kelley. Welcome back to What the Why with Barbara Ann, and today's guest, Barbara Kelley. And before the break, I mentioned that we were going to start talking about some of the full scope of all of the different things that Barbara's done, because in addition to being a township manager, she's been an adjunct professor. She's been a community organizer. As I mentioned during during reading of her bio, she has helped found organizations. And when Barbara and I first met, the Barbaras, I was working in Camden, as was Barbara. Along with the Camden Promise Zone Initiative, and Barbara was working closely with an organization that has now evolved to what is known as the CBA, or the Camden Business Alliance. And so let's talk about, because you miss Camden. I know there are people in Camden who definitely miss you, and you were so passionate about helping all of the small businesses at a time when so much attention was being put on large business. What inspired you as someone who, came into the community, because Camden's a close-knit community, so they only let so many outsiders in, so you got to come in. What inspired you to tackle that challenge during the administration that was in place and be the voice for so many small businesses that hadn't had a voice for so long?
Yeah, good question. I know this sounds really weird, but one of my first jobs was American Heart Association, and I had developed communities, developed the nonprofits in the different communities. It gave me a lot of experience in community organizing, and all my roles with the Historical Society and the Community Dispute Settlement Program and Education Foundation. It was like I'm getting all this experience to help communities thrive and to just connect people with people, connect people with people and connect people with connections, resources. And Camden needed it so much. And I love, when I went in there, people were like, "Oh, you're crazy for going to Camden." And I'm like, "No, I love Camden." It was really neat. I mean, it was unique, like when I did in Philadelphia, in North Philadelphia and South Philadelphia. After that, it's just, I just want people to, they deserve a life. They deserve resources. They deserve to have a good life. And the people welcomed me, which I was thrilled about, surprised, but thrilled. And I really, spent a lot of time there day and night. I get home at 11 o'clock at night, get there at 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, meet a lot of different organizations, meet a lot of different people, met the government, and just, learned a lot. And then after learning what they wanted, what they needed, what they, you can't tell people, like I went to Chester a couple times, and you can't say, "This is what you need." No, that's not your role. Your role is to listen and try to figure out, what they want, what they need, and then help them get it themselves. So it's like, you, with the fishing thing is, teach someone to fish, they'll, have food forever, but if you, give them fish, it's not, I forget what the whole exact words
was.
But,
you know what, that's pretty close,
really
though. I think we all.
And they welcomed me with all they really welcomed me, and I still have friends there. I mean, I still am communicating with the people there and helping and communicating, and I just like dealing with people who really want to help themselves and are passionate about, their lives and helping other people. Like when I was helping people, they were helping me back, and they helped other people. It was, the businesses really needed help, and they were really good about meeting monthly, finding the resources and helping each other. And that's what my goal was, to have the businesses help each other, and it's still going on in the organization. That's great.
Yeah,
I think I talked too long on that, but
no, there's no such thing, because again, this is really your story, and it, again, it shows how, I mean, there were definitely projects that you worked on where there are people that would have just held information and used that information as power, and you were just like, "Here you go. Yep, I put this together, but here you go. I'm doing this in service." because so much of who you are is about service. It wasn't about you. It was interesting because those mediation skills I know came in handy.
Yeah, they did.
Because as in any community, whether it's the community you're working in now or the communities you've worked in the past, of course, you're trying to find that common ground with everybody's individual agendas. And now you've had a lot of successes, and I did ask you if there was any question you didn't want me to ask, and you didn't say I couldn't ask this. What would you say was, and I don't like the word fail, because fail means first attempt in learning. So what would you say was one of your more challenging circumstances, to the extent that you can share, and what you learned from that experience?
Good question. I'll remember that question. I think the biggest thing is when, I first started working. Well, actually, I think when you want to, and I think I said it before, is that, you can't go into an area and say, oh, this is what you need. You know what I mean? It's like you really have to get people together and support of the projects and ideas before you go in and implement the ideas. You know what I mean? So I've learned that, you're full force, you really want to accomplish this, you really want this goal, you really want to get it done, but it might not be something that they actually wanted. Or they didn't know what they wanted. They didn't know they needed it or wanted it until you kind of listen to them and then incorporate it into what they really, what they wanted or needed. So it's like coming from them, not coming from you. Yeah. So I think my energy and passion, sometimes overwhelms someone when you first start. And I think that's one of the things I did one time is that, I'm excited, I want to get this done, I really want to help. But I needed to step back, listen, figure it out, and then see where it fit, if it did fit at all, in the scheme of things of what, plan of actions were. Yeah. I think listen before you act, everybody says that. So I learned that I learned that in pretty early, not right away because, I didn't have the ability to do that, but it's the politics. It's the politics of it. You had to learn politics.
Yes, and it's interesting that you mention that, because no matter where in this kind of work, when you're doing that grass levels roots organizing, and and the community has now made clear what they want, and that it is in their best interest, the politics don't always align with that.
Right.
And but you're the one that has the backing of the community because you took the time to listen.
Right.
And how do you find the courage then to stand up and say, okay, official, whoever you are, you're saying you don't want to do this because you know what's best for the community. And of course, this happens especially with certain government entities all the time. And you're able to show, yes, but I've spoken with the 120 businesses that are in just this one corridor.
Yeah.
And they have identified this as a need. So now what are you going to do for them? Where do you find that strength and courage?
I think it was is that I had them have the courage to do it too. You know what I mean? It wasn't just me. It was all of them together. And it wasn't just me going to them, it was them going to them. Yeah. It's their constituents, it's their businesses. It's their, you can't tell someone, oh, I know what's best for you as a politician, I know what they want, when they're the ones there saying, no, this is what we want. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I think that's a really important distinction, because it's not like you just went and did surveys and presented data.
Correct.
You rallied the people
I met with everybody.
and brought them
I met with a lot of people
along.
And I had them help me with the surveys. I really got everybody involved in the work I did. You know what I mean? So I remember Jim Bannon, who was, I miss him a lot. And he's like, Barb, let's do this, let's do this. And can you help us? I'm like, well, let's help each other. Let's all of us work together to get this done, And it was interesting because One of the things that I guess you were there with in Camden, it was interesting. We actually had, the CBA actually had we were on the agenda sometimes,
Yeah.
for our, I guess, concerns or even just updates, what we're doing.
Yeah.
And they appreciated it. I mean, some of the, like Brian Coleman and Sheila, they were, and even Frank sometimes, they came to the events and stuff. So it was really, when you have the people themselves talking, instead of just me going up there and saying I represent CBA, it was the group that actually did it. It was neat. I learned that you have the people themselves talk to the stakeholders.
Yeah.
All the stakeholders talking together.
Yeah, and I think that'll be part of your legacy because, what you helped to lay the groundwork for has now been accepted, adopted, and evolved into that next generation of attention and resources and collaboration. So thank you so much for the work you did there. And believe it or not, we are at time. We have exhausted our 30 minutes. So I know it goes fast.
Yes,
so thank you for taking time out of your schedule, your crazy schedule, to share how you basically turned your passion for helping people and a commitment to public service into a multifaceted career that has touched the lives of people throughout the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware area, and really in instances throughout the world. If someone does want to reach out to you to learn more about you or West Pikeland Township or in general, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
My cell, 610-800-6172. I have that phone with me all the time. It's like crazy, but yeah.
And I can attach, and you answer it, and you do return calls. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, there are public officials out there that will give out a phone number, and you might hear from somebody. There's not a ton of them, but Barbara happens to be one of the ones where when she gives out her cell, that is her cell, and she does get back to you. But I will also share, she's also on LinkedIn if you want to connect with her there.
Yes, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, yeah.
Yeah.
I answer every phone call. Yeah, and I do answer all the emails and LinkedIn too. And the link, that's all on my phone also. But I think the biggest thing is, you really do need to follow up with people, even if you don't want to. I know it's like, I really don't want to talk to this person, but you need to like buckle down and sit down, and you know what? It may be the next best friend that you have. You know what I mean? Your devil advocates could be your best friends later. So.
Absolutely.
And that has happened. It has happened. So I really encourage people to, be sincere, be nice, and smile, volunteer. Just follow up and help people. I mean, it's important.
Awesome. So thank you again for your time. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So regarding,
I miss you.
I miss you too. I know, but our schedules now, why we're just seeing each other for the first time in years via Zoom. Now, regarding upcoming shows, this episode is being, as my viewers, our regular viewer family knows, we tape our shows. And this episode is actually being taped outside of our regular schedule to accommodate Barbara's limited availability. That's how much I really wanted to have her on. So normally I say who the upcoming guests will be, but I'm not really sure at the time of this episode. What I do know, as you have learned through other episodes where I was not sure who my upcoming guests were, they're definitely going to be some of the most inspiring people that you meet that have been through circumstances that may be similar to what you've experienced in terms of what they want to do in their lives. And you absolutely do not want to miss what any of our upcoming guests will be sharing about how they, like Barbara, figured out their why or pivot in their lives to make their whys into their realities. As a reminder, What the Why airs on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time or Standard Time, depending on when this airs. And it also airs again on Mondays at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's also available on demand on RVN Television, as well as Roku, and hopefully some additional stations coming soon in the near future. And always remember that whether you are looking to make changes in your life, career, or your business, or your community, no matter how big or small, please tune in for future conversations with a diverse range of leaders who've been where you are at some point in their life, and they've found the strength and the courage to overcome whatever obstacles, real or perceived, might be in their path, overcome their fears, move forward with purpose to effect change and live their why.